I was working as a stock boy in a supermarket, and when we had to fill the milk cooler, people would bust open a 12-pack of milk cartons and put them in one by one. On my first day I just placed the 12-pack in the cooler and cut the plastic off on one side with my box cutter and yanked it from under it, and the look of the store manager and the other employee who was training me was pure bewilderment. From that day everyone did it my way. Start of lockdown. My 9-year-old son was having worksheets emailed to complete at home. One day, left him at the laptop doing his maths while I made some dinner with my 3-year-old daughter. Walked into the living room with his dinner to find him asking the Alexa all of his maths questions. Worked as a laborer at a nursery one summer. Daily tasks included manually watering 15,000 plants each day. Put together a back of the napkin plan to build an irrigation system and spent the next few weeks building it with some money from the boss. That system is still running 15 years later and does all the work now. I did automate myself out of the job and had to find another eventually. Couple years later got my engineering degree. I'm convinced engineers are inherently lazy people that will spend a disproportionate effort to make things easier. My brother-in-law spent a whole summer trying to figure out how to fix his sagging deck at the lake, which he could in theory crawl under and jack it up. It would have been a tunneling project. It's a 60 by 60 area all along 2 by 6 boards. Massive. I sat there long enough with enough beers in me to come up with the idea of just cutting a square out of the sagging area about 3 feet by 3 feet. Jacking it up, then re-screwing down the boards. He paints the thing every spring with a roller anyhow, so it's not like the square cut shows up. He thought I was a genius. I was just lazy. We had to hold a thermometer and water in chemistry class. It probably was only 20-minute experiment, but your arms get tired after a couple minutes and you can't let the thermometer touch the bottom of the pan or it won't get an accurate reading. So instead of sucking it up and just holding the thermometer, my lab partner built a contraption out of lab books and paper clips to somehow hold the thermometer in the water without it touching bottom. It was the stupidest looking thing you would ever see in a lab class, and our professor even walked over and said, if it looks stupid, sounds stupid, but it works, then it isn't stupid. My lab partner and I joked that he wasn't talking about the contraption but the intellect of my lab partner. I had a math teacher that actively encouraged his students to be as lazy as possible, defining lazy as actively searching for ways to do as minimal work as possible. His logic was that, the way math is now, it could always be simplified and still work the same. Someone just needs to be lazy enough to find that. I was a paid intern at a large company during one summer back home from college. My work 95% consisted of using SAP, import to Excel, clean data and generate reports, occasionally create some tool someone needed. In the first 2 weeks after getting a hang of my responsibilities, writing all the Excel formulas needed, and basically automating 99% of my work, I was chilling. I went from actually working from 9 to 5 to maybe 1 hour tops a day. Finding, importing, cleaning, and reporting usually took hours, but with all the formulas it took 2 minutes of clicking. I then helped the other cool intern get his shit set up so we could both just chill. We could take 2-hour lunches, paid for by the company, and nobody said anything cause we were just getting so much more done than the other interns. OFCI helped for special tasks when asked, but those were simple 20 minutes tasks building something in Excel. Overall, was the easiest/stress-less internship of my life. The clerk was asked to bring 145 white papers into the office. He doesn't want to count the papers manually, so he printed 145 blank sheets and took them in. One of my favorite examples is Andy Kim, and I'd like to preface this by saying that I don't think Kim is lazy so much as a genius. Andrew Kim was a singer/songwriter who became famous under the stage name Andy Kim. He achieved success writing songs for bands like the Archies, possibly most notably Sugar. After his success he coasted for a while until his record label dropped him for lack of output. At that point he created his own label and cranked out hits like Rock Me Gently. When they saw this, the big record labels then bought his label under the assumption that they would then profit off of the songs he wrote and performed. He then very shortly stopped writing songs and largely lived off the sale of his label. Worked smarter not harder. It took me like 3 months, but I automated a data pipeline to extract data, clean it up, and spit it out in an Excel or PDF format to one of our clients. I walked over to shoot the shit with the lady who handles my client and gives me tasks, and she told me we make 40K off them every month for that automated job. Fuck, I need to go start my own business. When Carl Friedrich Gauss, the famous German mathematician and physicist, was in elementary school, around 1784, his class was assigned the busy work task of adding all the numbers from 1 to 100, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and so on. This usually kept the class quiet for half an hour or so. 7-year-old Carl was sitting quietly with the correct answer, 5050, while the rest of the class was just starting, so the surprised teacher asked him how he came up with the solution. He replied that he added 1 and 100 and got 101. Then he added 2 and 99, and got 101. 3 plus 98 equals 101. And so on. He realized there was a pattern of 50 pairs of numbers with each pair adding up to 101, and 50 by 101 equals 5050. When I was in college I had a job at an Italian fast food place with a reputation for its breadsticks. They came in frozen and needed a bit to thaw, so we'd take a giant 3x4 FD aluminum baking sheet, spread them out on a single layer with no spaces and cover it with a plastic bag, then leave it sit in the walk-in overnight. The next day you'd have to get a pair of tongs and move each stick to a new tray, turning them over, then cover the new tray with the bag and let them sit on racks for a couple of hours before brushing on the garlic butter sauce. This was tedious enough that you'd usually be ready to brush the butter on the first tray as soon as you turned the last tray. I was given this task for the first time one morning and just did not want to deal with it. I realized if I put the second tray upside down on top of the first one then turned it over and took the first tray out, I got exactly the same results. Blew the boss's mind when I did the 3-hour job in about 15 minutes. I was given a sh.05/hour raise. I was once set to test a certain piece of equipment on a ship. The test involved attaching the unit to a reader, then run loads of command line commands. Then, one would have to make a copy of all the text, copy it into Word and save it as a real crappy looking report. There was hundreds of units, and they needed to be tested at several times a year. We did about 20 to 30 a day. It would take several weeks to finish. I didn't know coding at the time, but always wanted to learn it. Within 2 months, I had made a program, even with a GoA, to spot faults with ease. Instead of having to actually read the reports, the program could read 3 units at a time, and would automatically create a smooth PDF report and save it on our server, named with serial number and date. The job was now to attach 3 units, then wait for about 3 minutes, detach and attach new ones. Basically 30 seconds work, 3 minutes break. I could now test all units in a day, though I would typically spread it out over a couple more days. When I left the company, I left the program on the test computer. I got an email from an ex-colleague a few months later, saying they were using the program on several ships now. There wasn't any manual for the program, of course, but it was so straightforward that it wasn't needed. And GT, if I need directions I'm not asking a man with one tooth, I'm asking a man with one leg, cause he definitely knows the easiest way to get there. Yup. If there's a shortcut that one-legged fucker knows where it is. You won't be hopping fences neither. I plug clocks in at midnight so they're already set. Eating dinner out of the pot so there's fewer dishes to wash. An older company had a person dedicated to data entry which boiled down to copying and pasting portions of data from text files into spreadsheet and formatting into a report. The person originally doing this job spent a full 40+ hours/week doing it, but was not very computer literate. When they retired, the company hired someone with actual skills. The new hire convinced management to let her work remotely after getting up to speed on the job. The first week at home was spent automating the entire job. The remainder of their multi-year tenure with the company was spent doing whatever they wanted, save the 10 to 15 minutes weekly to run their program and to answer the odd email here and there. All while getting paid full salary and benefits. They actually had to add in a few errors now and then to make it seem realistic. Worked in a local adult education center. One of my main tasks was to make calculation about how many people enlisted for a course, how many of them got discounts, unemployeds for example, how many men/women/age etc. That was needed to calculate upcoming courses fees etc. That was my only work there and I hated it. This was in early 90s. So PCs were a thing in our offices but I had no idea how to write a program or use a database to use this informations. Lucky as I am, our center had an interesting policy: when you want to educate yourself, you can attend that class for free. And when it's during the work time, then this is work time, as long as my supervisor is okay with that. She was. So I spent 3 months studying database structures, scripting, coding etc. I told my tutor what I want to do and he helped me to write a script that grabs all necessary informations from the course's database, copy that into another database, and then I went crazy and wrote code that was insane. I implemented what-if scenarios thanks to filters. At the end I was able to do my work, that needed 6 hours a day within 15 minutes. I mean, before that it took for example an hour to have all the necessary informations to have how many unemployed single-parent women does it need to make the costs of that course even. I had everything back then. Now you want statistics: how many single-parent disabled foreign women at the age of 80 to 90 are needed for the next 2 years to keep the ornithology course running? Sure, no problem. Clickety-click, done. After that, I started the PC in the morning, grabbed all the data, ran my script, was done within 15 minutes and then read the book I brought from home. At the end of the day I gave my supervisor several dozens of papers, statistics, predictions etc. and said that was a lot of work, and went home. My supervisor was super happy with me because I did so much more now and was super effective. I worked goods in for an aircraft manufacturer as a summer job at university. Parts would arrive. We'd open them and key in all the details into a terminal. That bit was long-winded. I discovered the terminal keyboard has assignable shortcuts, and set up a bunch of them for all the boilerplate such that keying in an item was about 6 keystrokes. Saved myself and my workmate hours every day, which we would spend pranking each other, other warehouse staff and staff at other sites. I had a manager in my 20s who detested the fact I turned a 2-hour process into a 15-minute process. It exposed how much lazier he was compared to me because when the higher-ups learned from other people at my level that I created the program, they took me aside and told me he took credit for it. They asked me how I felt about that. I told them what decisions they make regarding the manager's character is their decision. Just put yourselves in my shoes and consider it from that angle. They did nothing and I took the concept to a competitor who invested the money into making the program more robust and proprietary. My name was line 1 on the patent and trademark documents and I did well enough to semi-retire at 45. I credit Lee Iacocca for the inspiration. He went through a similar problem with higher-ups at Ford and his answer was to take his brain to Chrysler who would value it. Back in high school a lot of kids used to walk through his park to get home/to school. A portion of the path went into the woods because it was just quicker than walking the actual trail. At one point in the walk through the woods, you had to go up this small but tedious hill. Nothing major but it took like 10 seconds of hard work to go up it. You couldn't go around because one side was a small cliff to the creek below and other side had dense trees. One summer, a bunch of us got together and decided to just dig through that hill to make it flat. It took like 14 of us 3 good days to get through it. It was a hard 3 days but it was definitely worth it. Save 10 seconds of hill climbing every morning and afternoon. 150 plus days of the year. And it wasn't just us, but hundreds of other kids who took the same party every day. Sometimes you need to put in a lot of work so your future selves can enjoy the easy way out. I was invited to my friend's yearly apple picking. It was a full day of apples and kids and filling a truck for cider. I'm lazy and suggested we make the process more efficient with tarps on the ground. We managed in 2 hours what historically took all day. We didn't even get to the picnic lunch. Essentially, I ruined apple picking. Walkie-talkies. In every job I've ever had these things make your day far less labor-intensive if used correctly. Hopefully this hasn't been posted yet. https://thedailyf.com/articles/a-tap-and-robot. Basically in order to restart a server, they made a robot that would eject its CD tray every time it couldn't ping it. In Australia explorers discovered a mountain that was taller than Mount Kosciuszko, which was thought to be the tallest mountain in Australia. Rather than cause confusion by telling everyone a new tallest mountain had been found, they simply named the new mountain Mount Kosciuszko and renamed the original to something else. Sounds like Hanlon's razor. https://fs.blog/2017/04/ metal model Hanlon's razor/. The German general Kurt von Hammerstein Accord used Hanlon's razor to assess his men, saying, "NGT, I divide my officers into 4 groups. There are clever, diligent, stupid, and lazy officers. Usually 2 characteristics are combined. Some are clever and diligent, their place is the general staff. The next lot are stupid and lazy. They make up 90% of every army and are suited to routine duties. Anyone who is both clever and lazy is qualified for the highest leadership duties, because he possesses the intellectual clarity and the composure necessary for difficult decisions. One must beware of anyone who is stupid and diligent. He must not be entrusted with any responsibility because he will always cause only mischief. I have a massive exercise to do at our year-end, accountancy. My work previously got checked by another manager who spent over 3 weeks going over the data. Eventually she got shifted to another department and the workload fell on me. Basically self-audit and then present the data to the actual auditors. My previous manager was absolutely shit at Excel. I didn't let on but I did all the audit on a separate file using simple, but out of the way, formulas. Not only did I reduce the task from 3 weeks to basically real-time checks, no time, but when I was told that I have to perform that exercise every month my job became a doddle. I didn't let on that everything was automated by SUMIFs, indexing, max values and ranged checks. Living the dream. Sorry if I rambled on. At work, I go through parts and apply 2 different kinds of tape and 2 different kinds of weave. I have finally got the rhythm down and now I do each part individually, and apply everything at once. Everyone else goes through an entire order, just applying tape, then goes through it again to do the weave. I ask to use the big table in the back of the shop, and just put all the tape and weave tools there. And do the parts all at once. Normal rate for an 8-hour shift is 1,200, but I can manage 1,800 in a day, going at a nice steady pace. Edit, I can get 1,800 going at a steady pace. I've done it before, but I usually don't. Most days I go slow and relax. purposely only making 1,300 to 1,350 or so parts. It's just enough overrate to get my incentive bonus. And, thanks to being a hard and fast worker, the uppers leave me alone at my big table in the back. They look the other way when I have an earbud in one ear, and they don't notice that I scroll Reddit or read a lot. I can't say what products we make. They're too recognizable and Googling it would reveal where I work and live. I knew a guy who had a low-level data/reporting job. He had several daily/weekly work responsibilities, including a bunch of reports that needed quite a bit of tweaking from raw data to finished product. But like I said, low level. We didn't find out until way later, but he had set up macros for each of his major responsibilities where he could. Once set up, he'd just run the macros to do his work, but then he'd, smartly, hold off on delivering the reports until just a little before the deadlines. He'd hit every assignment and was seen as reliable. He also would complain about the workload so people would leave him with that work. I doubt he did a full hour of work a day after he set up what he did. Eventually he left the job for one with better pay, but damn did he work lazy. Also, he was smart not to reveal until the end, because had he told them about it he would have gotten a pat on the back and would have been given a whole other workload, on top of maintaining those macros/etc. Dude milked the job, not the other way around. One of my favorite stories from my youth was the tale of the man who was too lazy to fail. I got fed up with handwriting itemized suborders at work, so I set up a spreadsheet that you can just fill out. Then I got tired of having more than one program open, and not being able to search within an amp, among those order sheets, at least not automatically, or easily, so I'm having our FileMaker guy integrated into our greater ordering and amp invoicing system. I was frustrated at the pointlessness of sorting a giant pile of paper invoices from an unpaid stack to a paid stack every month, so I just used the accounting software to keep track. I became so irritated with having to fill out a multi-page, printed spreadsheet for every single order, sometimes just one item, 2 pages in, and frequently, there would be those pesky itemized suborders, that I condensed the items into most used, put them all on one easy-to-read sheet, and encouraged my co-worker to simply write out the more uncommon items at the bottom. Basically, I hate busy work, and paper invariably leads to busy work. I have tried to reduce the use of paper in our office, but have not been entirely successful. We have to have written order forms available, because sometimes the orders are coming in too fast to be able to type it all quickly and amp correctly, and have to keep some paper records for things like organic, FDA, and USDA audits. But all in all I'd say my absolute hatred of filing has reduced busy work here by at least half.